Here we are, populating your screen. Kitty cat on board. That's HP Love Cat. Perfect for Halloween. Hey, I'm Blaine. Now, I'm going to go around and introduce everyone, and when I do, say something, tell the viewers something interesting about yourself.
Ugh.
Stop including me.
It's just horrifying flashbacks to the first day of class.
Of university, or even high school.
I went to college.
Middle school. So I'm Blaine. That's Donovan with the cat. That's Adam, who's went to college, and that's Natalie, who has not even said anything yet. She will. She will chime in and tell us how dumb we can be. So here we are, episode 176. If you're an audio listener. Oh, I just made a cat.
I heard some of that.
Yeah, the black cat. Did anybody happen to read Caleb R. Johnson's writing for Joyland magazine this week?
I saw the big news drop. I haven't had a chance to sit with the writing yet.
Little short story, pretty short story, called The Camper. I read it in one sitting and over a 10-minute span, maybe. I don't remember, but it's called The Camper. Just good storytelling, fine writing. Ends up being such a good exploration as probably specific to Southern guys, but maybe not even. How, what you're witness to as a kid becomes something you try to fight against as an adult, but yet still somehow plays out. And you just can't escape some things.
Time is a cruel flat circle kind of stuff.
Would you say, okay, I don't want
almost, or
say
more
anything.
like you don't get out of particular certain trauma, or it just plays again and again and again. What?
I don't want to say anything too controversial, Blaine, but would the thesis of this be that the past isn't really dead? That it's not even past?
Can't repeat the past. What do you mean? Of course you can.
Didn't realize we were talking about Loki so soon.
Exactly. Well, in a way. No, it's really good writing, and, he was one of the founders of the Alabama Take, the site that produces our show, and where we put everything. He got it done here. A little auto-fiction / bits of autobiography and bits of fiction. It's good.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Good short read. What new Rolling Stones record this week? I'm the only Stones fan in the group, right?
I like some of their singles.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. It's honestly hard. Like, I have the like an early singles collection from them. Mm-hmm. And the reason I have that is because it has all of the songs I like in there, plus the ones I only know I like because of Wes Anderson. But just like sitting down and listening to like a whole album is not. They're just a really good singles band. I don't know.
I don't disagree with that. But, there is Sticky Fingers and Exile on Main Street, which I think is just track after track, good songs. Those two you can listen to all the way through. Mm-hmm. And so I like all their other stuff for the most part. When they get in the 80s, it gets a little questionable. But this is actually a decent album for guys who are not knocking on heaven's door.
That's what I was going to ask. They haven't put anything new out in, I think I read 18 years. Is that right?
Nothing new for 5 years, but that last album was a blues album. It was all covers.
Right. New original material, I guess I should
exactly.
say. It's been,
You're right, yeah.
some time. And I wondered what, as men closer to the end, in theory, Keith Richards will never, start an internet joke about and the world that we need to leave for Keith Richards. Like when Bowie or Leonard Cohen know that the end is near, they may have a different reaction to it than the Stones making late work. And I haven't listened, but was this like, for you, Friday morning, you're like, oh, I've got to listen to the new Stones record? I'm stoked. Or was it just kind of like, oh, they did it. Cool, I'll listen.
It would have been, but I forgot. That this was the release Friday. Actually, Caleb Johnson messaged me and said, have you listened to it yet? And I said, not yet. I wanna. And I thought to myself that it might be a record that I might listen to and be like, oh, it's okay. I might put a few songs on a playlist, but I'm not so sure I won't buy the vinyl. It's fine, older, late era work. It's fine. The only thing that, and you could tell it quite a bit, the only thing that I have a gripe with is some of those tracks just do not have Charlie Watts on it, and you can feel it.
I mean,
but the song still kind of rock. Still
the coolest drummer in rock and roll.
My goodness. And one of the best, too. If you
so
like
good.
that just sort of straightforward drum, nothing too insane. He's not going to take a solo. I think he actually would every now and again in live settings. That the album's called Hackney Diamonds, the title being a nod to broken or shattered car glass and storefront glass on the infamous London streets, London neighborhood of Hackney. It's a good title.
That is a good title. There's I'm kind of with Donovan in that there's Stone songs that I absolutely love, but
incredible stuff sometimes.
Yeah, they're also almost feel they're not like the Dead from the outside, but there's a little bit of that, like they've been doing this for so long and there's so much stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously not the depth of that. Like, oh my God, have you listened to this one song and heard the different takes on it from 1966 through 1995? It's not like that, but
right, because their live stuff isn't as heralded. It's just maybe more rockin' or in a different key or something. But
although I know people who go to see him live, and it's like they'll post videos and it's just stunning.
Yeah,
like I know. They did. Oops, sorry, Adam. Well, I just was gonna say I know folks who saw them with Watts before he passed, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what tour that would have been, but relatively recently, and it just sounded so good. I also loved the internet was discussing how Mick Jagger still is so spry. You know, all the videos came out of their like release show, and they're like, he works out constantly, and then people started telling stories about how he does the set all the time. Like he sings constantly. Other celebrities who have had rooms near him at a resort or something are like, he's in his room singing Stone songs like while he works out.
Yes. Yeah, I've heard that. I must have read the same thing. I can remember in high school being, liking those singles of the Rolling Stones and not hating them. I was just like, oh, okay, here it's the Rolling Stones on the radio. They're always on the radio. This is fine. I'm not really going to change it unless I've heard it today already. And then I got into college, and I guess this is lame. I know it's a classic white guy take, but I started listening to them on vinyl, and I was like, good God, that's a hell of a guitar lick. Then I tried to sit down and just mimic the guitar, and it's all open B or open G tuning, and I'm just like, whoa, this is rock and roll with some eloquence in a
They went to art school.
Way. Charlie definitely had the eloquence.
Yeah, it's funny that when you hear older folks talk about like growing up, they either had to be like Stones or Beatles. There was
that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, but it's also funny how that has just continued to trickle through musical influences. So there was a lot of time in Tuscaloosa, like hanging with different folks. It's like, man, the Stones are like, I haven't had my Stones moment, and I can tell that I am not jiving with this person about something that's very important to them.
Hey, that's a good point about Tuscaloosa and them. I think it was the Dexatines that may have thoroughly pushed me through the door of the Stones.
There's like certain guitar things that I slowly realized are like the native language there that like, oh, I get it now. But it's not, because I guess, and completely unconsciously, I was in the Beatles camp. And then you get a little older and realize that you can be in the Kinks camp.
There you go. But you had me
find out the real answer to the question.
Yeah.
And it's that you don't have to go camping at all.
We're right back to the story.
We're right back to the camper. Let me talk to you about the camper from Caleb R. Johnson. No, that was almost a perfect segue. You had me set up there. It took 80 years, but McCartney appears on one song on this album.
Wow.
Bass player. Yep. Bite My Head Off is the name of that one. I haven't gotten to it yet. It's a little later track, so I can't wait to see if I can pick up on. Oh, that's a McCartney bass move.
Did you say 80 years?
Yeah, they're 80, aren't they? They're Bob Dylan's age. I think they're a couple years younger than Dylan.
I was going to say this has been in the works since the time of the Second World War.
They've never played on one another's album. No. None of the Beatles have played on the Stones. Now the Stones appeared on a Beatles album. Am I right about that?
I don't think on a Beatles album, right?
Okay, maybe not. Well, then this is the first time
solo record.
Okay, that would maybe be it. This is the first time their streams have crossed.
I'm gonna feel. I see what you did there. I'm gonna feel really silly if there's some contribution to a Beatles record that I'm forgetting.
I guess I'm just thinking about Clapton coming in on While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and that's a different thing.
Or like those are the only two that I can think of outside the four and George Martin that contributed.
How are you all forgetting Mick Jagger's classic rendition of Eleanor Rigby?
He would do it if you asked, I bet. It's also fun that they were all pretty good friends. You know,
yeah.
Lennon was obviously working up the intro because he was going to go on TV or the film and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Rolling Stones," you know, and he was just working that up during the Get Out sessions. It's funny. All right, so let's talk the challenge. We have been putting this in our YouTube segment, still here. The Challenge USA Wrapped, and I'm very interested. I don't have a lot of notes. I don't have a lot of guided kind of questions. I'm going to let y'all riff. The only thing I wrote was, has Michaela turned into the female Fessel with this?
Doesn't Natalie deserve like a victory lap, at least part of one here?
Oh, I'm setting her up for that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
coming. My dilly bar.
Talked a really big game, especially toward the back half where she realized, oh, I'm in this. And she didn't finish the final due to an Entertainment Weekly interviews had her saying it was a combination of not eating quite enough, not sleeping quite enough, and dehydration. And that she was running, things got hazy, she passed out, didn't even know it. Next thing she knew, she was awake in a hotel.
Crazy.
So, DQ. They told her, look, if you don't get up and start running again, we're going to have to DQ you. And she said, no, I just need something to eat. And then then she saw the medics, and then she doesn't remember much else.
Wow.
So, was unable to finish, and this was a mild final. It was a very CBS final. Is this correct in the opinion of Natalie and Adam?
Yeah, I mean, they still had to run 10 miles up a mountain. So I don't know if I would call it an easy final. But I think as far as, well, I could have done it, but, you know.
This was the one, I looked at Nat, I was like, I would have excelled at this, finally.
But to address is Michaela the new Fessel? No, because in that same article, she says, I gave it my all, and my body just didn't have it. And she accepted that with humility of, I tried really hard, and I tried as hard as I could. Fessy would never say those things. He would continue to say, well, you know, if I had gotten whatever, I would have been able to do it, you know, blah, blah, blah. Absolutely not. Take it back right now. She's not the new Fessel.
Hey, I just asked. I didn't commit. I didn't say she was.
I do think it's funny that they were both undone by their own Achilles heel. You know, like, I think Fessy was probably trying to skirt the rules to see if he could get away with it on that cut through.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no one's here stopping me. And I think that he may be the kind of guy, or maybe they're just so tired that it's like, you forget that you're being filmed the entire time. Like, of course they know that you cheated. You know, even if there's nobody standing there. And she thought that she was making a clever decision, and it came back to bite her.
I mean, it could have worked. It just didn't.
All her other clever decisions kind of worked themselves out over the course of the season not through her skill most of the time. So it was nice to see, I think the winners winning, they were like very deserving winners. I don't
Let's
think it
talk.
was the toughest final, but I do think it created a very fair outcome.
Let's talk about the winners. Natalie correctly predicted Chris. She had him all the way from like week, about midway through the season. That's what she had her money on him, if not earlier. She may have had it earlier and not told us, but she's raking in her winnings off of MGM.com. I don't know where she put her money, but she called Donovan, figured out where to put money. Anyway, she picked Chris. She picked Chanel. Am I correct? You picked Chanel.
I did.
Who finished second. So very good picking. Anyway, the actual winners were Chris and, oh gosh, help me out.
Desi.
Desi. Whom I picked, right? Didn't I go with Desi
I think
last
so.
week? But I only picked her last week, so it's not like I had her early when the odds were not so much in her favor. Brand new winners, brand new faces to the challenge. They were both Survivor people. Usually we're not that big of fans, I guess, of that outcome. We like our veterans, we like our real world people, but real world doesn't exist. So tell me where you are with Chris and Desi, as they could very well become faces of the challenge now if they wanted and continue to do great.
Yeah, I think it all depends on, like, I don't see Chris and Desi transitioning to the MTV version of the challenge. So I think it all really just comes down to the future of the show itself and where it's going to live moving out after season 40.
Good point.
You don't think that they would make the move? Isn't there more money on the line in the MTV version?
Yes. But I don't know necessarily that they'll get the invite.
When you say
there's
more
not
money
a lot of crossover that direction.
When you say more money on the line, you mean more money for the competitors, or do you mean there's more money on the line for the studio to have it on CBS versus MTV?
The purse is bigger. There's more for the competitors.
Yeah, it is. I think so.
They're usually like, how many times have we heard TJ say $1 million at this point versus $500,000 this time? Which is nothing to sneeze at, of course, and maybe they get better appearance fees, already being Survivor people who are appearing again on CBS. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would both do really well, though. I would love to see basically everybody who was in the final in a regular season.
I was a Desi fan from early on. I liked her. Chris, I wavered. He seemed silly, goofy. He seemed lame. I mean, but he did. He earned it.
Yeah. I mean, he eliminated how many people? Four folks?
He did the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Survivor, Big Brother, Challenge, Original West, and whatever show I'm forgetting.
He did all of that, and he beat Bananas and Fessy and Corey in a final, which is pretty impressive, and did it pretty handily, they made it look like. So I don't know that he could ever... Natalie, what do you think? Could he get in the house and like make enough allies to survive a real season?
I think it would take him several seasons. I think the way that this season was set up, where they were a bunch of different shows, the house was divided enough that he could kind of, I mean, he didn't even really skate through, but he could still do his thing. I think it would take him several seasons to build the right relationships on the MTV challenge. Also, does Chris beat Corey if Corey's not a dum-dum?
That was my next question.
A 5-minute penalty.
You stole the words out of my mouth. The least surprising thing of the year so far is that Corey dumbly raised his hand first to double down and then loses time and then does it again and then loses time. I mean, that's just a Corey thing. He could have done quite well if he hadn't have.
I kind of liked Corey's approach to this.
Yeah.
All the way through.
It's dumb in hindsight, but
if it had worked.
Yeah.
I mean, he sized up like, he should be able to pull the sled faster than he would think Bananas and Chris, probably. And he would probably think, well, maybe Fessy weighs a little bit more than me. I think I probably have stronger lower body. I can figure this out.
Yeah,
And I
he's
like
built.
that
Corey's built for that thing. That
he is,
particular
and he
part.
was terrible at it. But the way that
Weird.
they built his arc this time, they didn't really talk about. I mean, he still took the picture of his kids out or whatever, and did
He's
that.
like the Wolverine meme where he's.
Right.
Remember, TD told us that one.
Yeah.
Caressing.
But the way that they chose to edit it this time, and the way that he talked about, like, I've done this so many times, and like failing is just getting old, and like the way that he came back the second day and gave it a go and did pretty well, I thought was, as goofy as these shows are, it's like, it's kind of like a human, he persevered, he did it kind of thing.
I want Corey to have a championship. I want him to have one, or two. I mean, what? He's sort of maybe one of the last in a line of challengers. It seems some of that last.
I mean, the real world connection kind of closed behind him right now.
They were like 2 or 3 seasons after him, but yeah.
Exactly. I would have liked for Nelson to have a championship. I mean, that's a different conversation altogether because of his injury in the car wreck over the summer. I would like for. I don't know if I want Josh to have one, but he's kind of a face of a challenge, albeit a Big Brother guy.
I think him
originally.
getting to a final would be interesting.
It'd be, yeah. But Corey, Nelson, and Josh all remind me that they just make some really boneheaded decisions that always keeps them from either the final or winning the final. And it's very predictable, but it's also funny.
Corey and Nelson have graduated to the point where they have been in the final enough to know what it takes. And to think that they can do a little bit more and train a little bit harder and like get it done if the stars align. I think Josh would just get destroyed in a final and by a final his first time. So it would be fun to see him react to that.
He would cry.
Course, yeah. Then again, Chris just waltzed in and crushed them all. So who knows how it works.
Well, he was on Survivor. That's a different game than Big Brother. There might be some overlap.
That's true.
Nelson, didn't he leave one season and then come back having learned to swim? Like that's one of the things he specifically did to train.
He took lessons, I'm pretty sure. Leroy did that too.
Leroy did that.
Okay.
Cara did that. Like that's
It
a
might have
pretty
been-
common.
Somebody specifically
story.
said it in a confessional now. It might have been Leroy. Well, as a season as a whole, I was so happy that Natalie said, yeah, let's, I'm watching it. Let's watch it. Very happy because it was good. It was like capital G good. The final was, in comparison to MTV's final, it was tepid, but fine. It was fine. And I'm with Adam.
For the season.
Say it again.
I thought it was fitting for the season.
Well, that's what I was going to say. As you said, it got the outcome that was deserved, and that's fine. So if I'm ranking the entire season minus that finale, it's really, really good. If I'm adding the finale, still pretty good. So
We'll see what
glad
you have
we
to say
watched
after Wednesday, though.
hey, we got a new challenge coming up on this very Wednesday or next Wednesday.
This very Wednesday.
Tomorrow, if you're listening to us. If you're YouTube, you don't have to do anything. You're just with us.
Can you imagine the poor saps that don't see the YouTube version? What must
I
that
get
be
that
like
it would
for
be
them?
time consuming, but if you're at work, you could minimize it, pop it back up, look at it. I get it.
He clicked on that boss button.
Click on it. I like that, Adam. If you're joining us, we're talking about the YouTube version. That's available, and what I mean by that is there is a audio version on YouTube. No images, just audio. You just hit play. But there's a video version, and you can see our reactions, our faces. Some of us good looking.
You can see when Blaine mimes at me to get closer to the microphone.
I do mime at Natalie to say, get closer to the mic. Speaking of good looking, there's Natalie. That's the
Here
best
I am.
looking amongst us. And there's Donovan, there's Adam. You hear this in the
Wait, are these
intro.
the rankings, or are you just saying our names?
Descending order. I'm
just-
crushed.
Yeah,
I mean,
descending
it's
order
the
of
right order,
looks.
but
Wait, what order did I go in? Natalie?
Natalie,
Donovan,
me,
and
Adam.
What's a toss-up
Feels
between
right.
number? It's a toss-up at two. I'm definitely fourth. We'll just leave it at that.
We'll just wrestle for it next time we're all together.
Arm wrestle.
I've seen Donovan wrestle. You don't want that.
Okay, that's enough for me to have to edit out. Adam, I won't. Well, actually, everyone. Let me just go around the table here. Adam, you want to? I'm willing to bet, especially for our audio, just podcast app listeners. We've got podcast app listeners. I would suspect from Tuscaloosa. You want to tell them you're going to be in town soon? Speckled Bird.
Sure, Speckled Bird at where else? Druid City Brewing Company
Lovely
on
place.
Thursday, October 26th, as a part of Mr. Bohick's birthday celebration, which is a guaranteed good time. John Calvin Abney will be playing as well, who is just fantastic. He'll do, I think, an acoustic set. He's on tour solo, and then the Bird will play.
Fantastic. Happy birthday, Bo. Go see Speckled Bird Thursday evening. Druid City closes at what, 10 these days? 10
Yeah,
p.m.
you can get out of there pretty early.
You get out early enough to get to class or to work. Natalie, are you gearing up for decorations with Fireside?
A little bit. Haven't
Okay.
a little behind this year, but that's okay. I'm excited to put some lights up.
So Natalie and her, tell me her name. I'm so sorry.
Jenny White.
Jenny White. Jenny is what I couldn't get out of my mouth. I was going to say Jennifer, but okay. It's close enough. No, it's not. So Jenny and Natalie, if you are in Florence, Muscle Shoals, Northeast Alabama general vicinity, you can look up Fireside. Natalie, tell them where they can find you. It's mainly Instagram, and they can
Yeah,
DM you
mostly
there.
Instagram. Yeah, send us a message on Instagram, Fireside Florence. Let us know how we can help you get your holiday kicked off.
They can decorate some things for you. They can do some gift wrap, guys like me.
Seriously,
Oof.
so many husbands email us like the week before Christmas.
No, that would be
That's right.
like if I had a service like that near me.
Yes.
That would, because it's like,
Hey, we'll ship it.
oh, it's a lumpy log.
Hey,
love you.
Donovan, every Christmas I Google gift wrap Arab, Alabama.
Here's
not
what you
working
do: you Amazon ship your stuff to me. I'll wrap it and then mail it back to you.
Oh my
Not
goodness.
kidding. Will do.
Are we hearing this, listeners? Fireside, Florence, that's Northeast Alabama area for decorations, and probably even for gift wrap, that might limit the circumference of how far you could get out of Florence and Muscle Shoals, but still worth your time. That's going to be Natalie and Jenny. You can find them on Instagram, and you can see that email or DM them.
Just the funniest thing in the world to me that my wife has always loved putting up Christmas lights.
Mm-hmm.
And year after year, she's like, man, I just want to do this for my job. And then one year she was like, well, I have an LLC. I'm like, great. I have an LLC and a new ladder. See you in a few weeks.
If there's anything more American dream than saying I have an LLC and a new ladder.
Yeah.
And lastly, I don't want to leave him out. Donovan, where can people find you? You'll be signing books at.
Not his books.
No,
they won't be.
I'll be signing other people's books at many of our fine used bookstores. Now you can find me around our town's various breweries.
Honestly, speaking of finding us, Adam and Donovan and I personally are on Blue Sky now. Who knows? Is that where we're going to go?
I mean, there's less Nazis, which I kind of like.
There's less Nazis. I don't even bother looking at Twitter much anymore unless someone sends me a link. But honestly, the Alabama Take is on all social media, TikTok, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, and then Taking It Down Pod. That's how you find it, Taking It Down Pod. We're on Blue Sky, Threads, TikTok. We have a TikTok, and Instagram and Facebook. So up to you. You know, which one or two do you prefer? Find us, follow us. I think as soon as Blue Sky gets a few more people involved as users, it will continue to be kind of cool. I think that's just my opinion. What do I know? Threads is also okay, but no one really uses it. So
I've been able to, like, I'm not following everyone on Blue Sky that I used to, but like I've been able to kind of scrape together, like, oh, these are the folks that I liked, mostly football and movie people.
yeah, kind of. Lots of movie people have gone there. Lots of critics. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you got Matt Zoller Seitz is on there. You've got Brian Tellerica. You've got every other single person who writes for RogerEbert.com. You've got some folks from The Vulture. You've got some New York Times guys and gals.
The Times guy that you turned me on to not too long ago is there and uses Blue Sky with regularity. And I'm forgetting, his name's evading me.
I turned you on to him?
Glenn Kenny, am I correct?
Oh, Glenn Kenny. Yeah. He also writes for, he writes widely. He's good.
He writes. He has bylines everywhere, and you're right. But he's
he really does.
Interesting guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get into our critiques. We fancy ourselves critics. Not really. We fancy ourselves just kind of thinkers. And Natalie says yes. She's a critic.
I'm critical.
She's a critiquer.
Yeah. I feel like this is that point in that telemarketer documentary where Patrick J. Patch is like, you know what? I am a journalist. I am. It's like...
Never fail to bring up Patrick J. Pespis in our...
with my senator.
I gotta love him. We're talking Loki to begin because it comes out every Thursday on Disney+. The most recent episode titled 1893. If you don't want spoilers, skip ahead to the next segment. The basics of this is Loki and his pal Owen Wilson. It's not really. His character name is. Wouldn't it be great if it was just Owen Wilson?
With Owen Wilson as himself.
Well, a variant of himself.
Yeah, a variant. Right. We could rope in Luke Wilson that way. It'd be interesting. Anyway, Owen Wilson, his character's name is Mobius. Okay, finally got that. They are, it's almost like time traveling kind of episode where they're back in 1883, though apparently a little different timeline because the variant of Kang or whatever he's going by,
Victor Timely.
Well, no, that's what he's going by in 1893 in the variant version.
Right.
The idea here is that Mrs. Minutes, the cartoon clock, has...
Oh, she's not married, Blaine.
Oh, what did I say? Oh, Mrs. Minutes. That's a good point. That comes up.
Say that's relevant to this.
We get some cartoon fucking on this.
Aggressively comes up.
No, Miss Minutes tells the Ravana. Help me with some of these names. Why is this escaping me so badly?
Oh, that's Rosencrantz.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, they are there.
I didn't say Anne Guildenstern. I said Rosencrantz.
The Renslayer, she says, drop this book off in this window.
Well.
It's Victor Timely's window. When he was a kid, he gets the TVA's, that book that was written by O.B., who's not in this episode. Well, he's there for 2 minutes to say, oh my God, the timeline's about to explode.
Yeah, he gets to say what he says every episode, which is, it's all bad. We're all going to die. Figure it out.
We're all going to die.
And that's my big point about this episode is it's a lot of the same things happening. Like, my biggest complaint was that many of the characters are just doing the same thing. Sylvie just wants to kill Victor Timely, in this case, not Kang, per se. And it's, I wanted a little something new, but I didn't get it, other than the beautiful set pieces. What'd y'all think?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like much is happening, but it's still fun.
I like you said, Blaine, the background is very attractive. It can be fun, just Owen Wilson, Tom Hiddleston just hanging out. Owen Wilson's trying to, or Morbius, not Morbius, that's the vampire, Mobius.
I keep saying that too, Donovan.
Yeah, Morpheus.
Morpheus.
Mobius explaining his philosophy about detective work and snack foods.
There was a shot when they were at the World's Fair, and it was like a very like a wide shot with a lot going on behind them and people in the foreground. And I mean, I said aloud to Natalie, like, this looks. And if you could tell somebody 15 years ago that like TV is going to look like this, it's pretty shocking how cool it looks and what the quality that they're able to pull off. And I mean, it helps that there's two movie stars just palling around. Well, in that particular scene, there were two. Yeah, but there's just not a lot of there,
Mm-mm.
you know.
That's really funny. You had the same thought as I. The whole time I watched it, I was thinking, wow, this is probably kind of what it looked like in Chicago in 1893 at the World's Fair.
I mean, I did read Devil in the White City, so I feel like something of an authority on that. As obviously someone on the writing staff also did.
Did you like it? Just tangentially, did you?
Yeah, I read it in college. It was good.
Because I want to read it, and I'm debating
good.
reading it. Okay.
It's a page turner that's not, like a stupid book.
Good. Yeah, so exactly. I thought about that book while I was watching this episode. I thought, oh, wow, this is probably what I can picture when I start reading such a book. But they're moving the plot along incrementally. So what? What do we have now? Victor Timely, this variant of Kang, is going to be at the TVA in the next episode. They finally get him there. It took a whole episode, but beautiful set pieces. It sounds like I'm complaining. Truth of the matter is, not completely. I still am fine spending 45 minutes just sitting down and watching this. Is that kind of where we are with this? Like, there's nothing really happening.
Entertained.
Yeah, it's not like it's offensively bad. It's just repetitive.
They do have moments, especially with an episode like this, where I'm like, oh, they're about to sort of maybe get into like racial politics, and they sort of do, and they sort of don't, and it feels like very middle. And that's almost as interested in me as anything else, where it's like I don't know how accurate the access that these characters of color would have had. But then they kind of like, so it's like, okay, they're there, but then they kind of, they have the boorish man in the audience who's condescending, and it's like it made me think of like how disastrous Winter Soldier was, because they tried to not Winter Soldier, Captain and Falcon, whatever I don't even remember, the one with
Falcon and Bucky and
all
them, whoever.
Winter Soldier.
And they were on the edge of kind of being like, wow, as like a black man in America's security apparatus, maybe I have some thoughts, but it all kind of gets wrapped up and no one remembers it at the end.
True.
I just assumed, because I remember that scene where the guy said something in the crowd and was just like, is this it?
Yeah. I'm like, where are we?
We're on a different timeline. Maybe things are different.
This is... Did you like the affectation that Jonathan... I'm going to call him Jonathan Edwards, the preacher, Majors, did for Victor Timely? Because I'm like, I honestly don't know if this is offensive, but I was just kind of like, spit it out. Like, I know he's obviously supposed to have a stutter, so that I don't want to make fun of anyone who has a stutter or anything like that. But like, just there was just something like, just say it. Like you're taking up so much time in your scenes.
That was interesting because it was the stutter mixed with he was also talking really fast.
Yes.
It's like what are we doing?
Yeah, well, I think that was a good choice. People with a stutter tend to find something to make up for.
Yeah.
For that.
And I mean, it definitely, like, as far as like differentiating him from the other versions of himself we've seen, it was great. And I don't think he was bad. And again, I really don't want to, especially if any of you listeners have ever experienced the stutter or have a stutter. I don't like this is not a criticism of stuttering. It's more like just that I don't know if I liked it or not, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The way that he chose to play his character. I see why he did it. but I'm not sure if it annoyed me or not. And this might be I may be the villain here. I realize.
Donovan just got canceled.
I think I might have.
First time for everything.
Yeah.
I found it to be a capital C choice, you know?
Yes. Yes. Yes, I felt the same way.
I mean, it felt very actorly, but at the same time, he captured the screen. He captured his scenes. He was up against Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston and stood his ground and maybe, kind of, sort of, stole the scene if he didn't annoy you.
I don't even know if I was annoyed, but Blaine, I would actually agree with that. Like he did steal the scene.
He's a Class A actor.
Anyways.
I'm sorry, what?
So he's going to do that anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's a Class A actor, and he's proving it every time I watch him in something. He's got some serious, disappointing, scary, disgusting issues going on, assuming their validity. I don't
see how that all sorts out. Yeah.
We really don't talk about those kinds of things here a lot. I won't say much about that. But Disney, Marvel are still using him. I've just got to go with what's on the screens. Apologies to anyone if that's not kosher. But he did something, I think, to differentiate. And I would be curious if he came into set and said, this is what I figured out about this character. I'm going to do this. Or if they said, hey, can you figure out what you want to do to make this character very different from Kang?
Yeah, I'd be interested to know too. I agree with you, Blaine, and obviously the stuff that's happening, and this was apparently all filmed before any of that. So I don't want to conflate the person that I like to see acting with the person, but he does kind of have it where you want to look at him, you want to see what he's going to say, even if like in this case, I'm not sure if I was 100% there with all the choices. Like I wasn't looking away,
right?
I wasn't looking at my phone.
I thought they were pretty good choices. I get your very slight critique of how it took up a little too much time than maybe it needed.
I think it gave the scenes. I think it gave the scenes somewhat of a weird rhythm.
Okay, that's fair. I know,
but I don't want. But that might just be me being not very sensitive to people with a stutter, and if that's true, I apologize.
I don't think so. I think that the scenes did have a weird rhythm.
It had a weird he had a weird pacing. It almost felt like it didn't fit with the rest of the episodes. The rest of the episode scenes that he was not in had a very different pacing.
I think that's fair. The listeners, if you hear the ice cream truck coming by, I live in Alabama, and it's late October, and that is meaningless to an ice cream truck.
Was it like 80 degrees there today?
76 or so, probably.
Still enough for an ice cream.
Sure.
Get you that Dilly Mar.
No, it's not a Dairy Queen ice cream truck. It's just your classic ice cream truck. A couple of things I'll mention, and we'll wrap our segment here on Loki. Jonathan Majors is maybe one of the better actors of the last 5-10 years to emerge within the last 5 or 10 years. Who could we set him up against? John David Washington is one of his peers, and I think he's heads and tails above John David Washington. So that's kind of where we are. As an actor, again, personal things off screen that could be really ugly, and it probably is. I don't know. Let's talk about Miss Minutes as, oh wow, she's the villain. And Natalie, take it up.
First of all, not a fan of them alluding to this, any kind of romantic tension between both what's his name and Miss Minutes and Renslayer. Just annoying. We don't need to do that. It's talk about a waste of time. Why does every scene between a man and a woman have to have sexual tension? Don't love it. Especially when one's a cartoon.
Yeah.
I was just what?
100%.
When did we start Who Framed Roger Rabbit? That's all I could think about during those scenes.
Miss Minutes. She's just drawn. She's not bad. She's drawn that way.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. That's it. I felt the same. It was awkward and clumsy. There's no point in that. What, she's got to be attracted to him or want a boyfriend or turn me. But maybe it all was just about turn me into a human or give me a body so I can have more control.
But then
even
when she
still,
comes back up at the end, after he muted her or whatever, and then she comes back up at the end, she comes back saying, because she got cut off, and her last 2 words that came back were "love you."
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Yeah.
Why does that have to be the only female motivation in these stupid shows?
Yeah.
I will agree that did come somewhere out of left field.
Tara Strong is the voice for Miss Minutes, and she's recently been fired for a social media post about what's happening in Israel and Hamas. So
Probably wise of her to weigh in.
I don't know. I didn't find what she said or didn't go looking for it. I just was looking up that actress. I wanted to put a face with a name.
So when you say fired, like from Loki going forward, like she's done.
I don't know if it was from Loki. It was from a recent project, so it would have been in the last month. Maybe not Loki, because we don't even know if Loki's going to do a season 3.
That's kind of what I was wondering, if it was just like, we have you on contract, but not anymore. You know, something like that.
Oh yeah. The reason why I wanted a face with the name, I was going to be curious if they did give her a body and who is this voice actress / actress. I didn't know her that well. Other people did. Apparently she's done voice work a lot. Like other people on, like, say, message boards and things. She ends the episode by saying, I've got a secret about this dead Kang in front of us who's rotting because Renslayer's been sent to the end of time by Sylvie. Sylvie says, if you want to go to the end of time, here you go. Boom. Takes her sends her to the end of time. She's there. Then Miss Minutes shows up there and says, well, got a secret about maybe Victor Timely, maybe just the regular Kang, maybe both, because they're going to end up doing the same thing.
I thought the secret was about Renslayer.
Yeah, because she's like, it's going to make you mad.
Oh, it's about her. I thought it was about the Kang, like what he does or says to her. I knew it was related to her. Okay. Okay. That will be interesting.
I'm pretty sure Miss Minutes said, I have a secret about you. Or I know a secret about you.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I could be mistaken.
So that's interesting to me, but how interesting to be a cliffhanger?
Yeah.
I don't know. So, Adam said it last week as a joke, but it's a vibe. I don't know. It's a relatively okay hang still. Again, it sounds like I'm complaining a lot, but I still like it. I still think it's a pretty good Marvel show on Disney Plus. Compare it to She-Hulk. Compare it to the Falcon and Winter Soldier show, and it's still good. A lot to do with the acting and the delivery. And
Tom Hiddleston's still fun to watch, right? Like Owen Wilson's fun to watch.
Absolutely. Owen Wilson in a lot can work well. We're going to take a quick break, and after you hear more about some of our podcasts in our network, you'll hear from us. We're going to continue to talk about the fall of the House of Usher. We talked the first 2 episodes with spoilers last week if you want to go back and listen. This week it's pretty certain we're going to talk about some of those middle episodes. 3 and 4 are assured. Am I right, Donovan?
Yeah, I'm up to 4.
Okay. 3 and 4 are assured for spoilers. And of course, anything that came before that might spoil what's happening in those. So don't listen if you don't want to know too much. All right, let's pick up with episode 3. I think we're all good here. After episode 3, I bet Adam and Natalie might go radio silent, in case you're wondering, because they're not quite there, and we don't want to ruin anything for them. You don't take lemons and turn them into lemonade. You make them into a capitalist sort of statement.
Except he was wrong.
Okay, how so?
You write one of the greatest pop songs ever written.
You either take the U2 route, you take the Monsanto route. You know, it's a win-win. I
That's
think
one of the.
Is
I-
Bono Mr. Monsanto?
it could be.
Hard to say.
You never see them in the same location, though, which I find suspicious.
They're using a sad bit of acting as much as they can that hardly none of the Usher family cries or even cares when some of their family dies in this episode.
Because I don't care for
Yeah, they hate each
all.
other, right?
Yeah.
They didn't care for Job.
They did not. Blaine, you touched on, with the one of the big things that my biggest complaint about Midnight Mass, which I liked, and thought was, I wouldn't say swinging for the fences, but it was taking swings, it was taking chances, and I respected that, but I thought it was too talky. And I kind of actually like that this one is framed with like this billionaire sort of coming clean and sort of just trying to justify himself, and it makes the talkiness work more for me, like the lemonade monologue. It's like, oh, this fits because he's in, and it's again, right, it's another power play too, right? Like, he's in control, he's telling the story, he's gonna let DuPont know what he wants when he wants it. And I'm kind of, yeah, I'm there for that.
The original Roderick Usher was supposed to be played by Frank Langella,
Interesting.
but did not work out because he had some, am I right about some sexual discrimination sort of activities, and they chose to replace him. I think they chose a good actor. Frank Langella, it seemed like he would have chewed up too much scenery, been too much of a presence, would have been too big on the screen, metaphorically speaking, figuratively speaking. This guy I like this actor. Long stretches of talking, and that's probably going to either work for you or not. When they are in those long stretches of talking, I got to be honest, I'm listening, but I'm also looking at that set, and I'm trying to see if there's anything I need to be watching for. But it's also just a creepy set. You got to think the actors were either loving or hating being on that particular old family set.
I do like how in many of his recent attempts, like, he will kind of use, like, the talking is important sometimes for the plot, but he will also kind of use it to lull you and get you to focus on something when there's really something else in the background, or whatever.
Fits with what I said
really
last
like
week. I'm a little disappointed it's not as scary as some of his previous installments on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, Natalie, about episode 3 with you, and because you were on the fence with the show on, am I going to continue? Is it for me? And I think Adam wanted to hear your thoughts here too.
It's not for me. The show is so bad. I find this show, the acting is hilarious. Every time there's a scene that I'm supposed to be like scared of, I would laugh out loud. It's so cheesy. It's so CW. Somebody tried to convince me this week that I just don't know how to consume it because it's not like high art horror. I'm like, you know what? Maybe you're right, but that makes me better than you. I'm just kidding. I don't actually think that. But I just can't. I don't know what to do with this. It's silly.
Mm-hmm. No, this may be as campy as Flanagan's been.
Definitely. I do think that, like, there is that element of silliness where it's like, which I'm actually kind of enjoying, but it's just like, oh, the Rue Morgue, how's the ape gonna tie into killing him, right? Or her.
And it's so predictable. Like when old girl jumped on the table, monkey style, just like wept with tears of laughter. Just, like, I cannot take it seriously.
I walked in on her watching episode 3 and was very surprised because I did not know that she'd seen episode 2. And here she is about to finish 3, and that scene happened, and she just started like laughing her ass off. It did not go well.
You know what? It makes me think that if they would have chosen to go one way, like when it ends with the monkey screams and there's silence other than the monkey screams in the black in the credits, that's kind of affecting or a little creepy. Instead of going another way, like Natalie's talking about the lady jumping up on the table like a monkey or like a chimpanzee, they almost clash. Like, how serious do you want? Do you want to be camp or do you want to be kind of, oh my God, horror? Which one do you want? And maybe pick one and run with it. I also will say that I'll just take Raul Colley, who plays Leo, video game son. That role's not for him. That's not a good role for him. It's distracting, especially happens in episode 4. So, but I won't say anything beyond this specifically with episode 4. He had a wonderful Americanized accent in Midnight Mass as a sheriff. And here he's using his regular accent. And it just, your mind is trying to subconsciously make him and Vic fit as Usher's children with that accent. It's really got nothing to do at all with their skin color at all. It's just like, what? How did they grow up in Britain? And it's just like this extra hurdle your mind has to jump in for every scene that they're in. And then I just don't think Colley should have been cast as Leo. He should have had another role, perhaps as, I mean, take your pick. He could have been the lawyer, although I do think Mark Hamill is kind of killing it. He got the notes of saying, be campy scary, not scary. Be campy scary. And he's got it down.
I love that growl he's doing because it absolutely sounds like he is a British actor trying to master an American accent and sort of failing. And I'm just like, Mark, you're the man. Just keep growling and walking around with your spectacles.
The thing with the accents with the kids, they kind of address that, right?
They do address it, but you're still subconsciously thinking, whoa, they're British. Wait, Roger Usher is thoroughly American, Midwestern-ish.
I thought he just sowed wild oats.
I know.
I
no,
just
I
thinking
get
about
that.
how poor his genetic strength is.
Yeah.
But when you I think my point is when you take that part of subconsciously trying to like it just jolts you just a tiny bit subconsciously. Take that part with them being cast in the wrong role. It's just like a little too much conscious of a hurdle. It suddenly becomes a thing where you got to think, oh yeah, they're his kid. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of them say they didn't know they were his kid until like their 20s,
Correct.
right? And they talk about
it's thoroughly addressed and well addressed.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about me personally as a viewer. This is what happens. I think.
I have problems with the acting and the writing for sure, but to me that actually kind of works as illustrating like this
how
conglomerate confederation of a set of kids. You know what I mean? Like they don't work as a unit. They don't.
Oh, okay.
It kind of that's one of the stronger parts.
Yeah.
And otherwise fairly weak setup.
I'd totally agree with that, Adam, because it makes it seem like that family dinner is, at the beginning, it's like, no, it's more Byzantine, than
right.
Everyone has a knife out.
And it's really nice, like show, don't tell writing in a show with a lot of tell.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It is funny. I think of all of us here, I'm the person who has the least trouble with the acting. I don't really mind him. I've already forgotten his name, so forgive me. Leo. I don't really mind him.
Raul Colley.
I don't know. I didn't find him. I don't know. Like I'm not saying he's not like going to win an Oscar or anything for it, but I wasn't like annoyed.
The two that bother me are the oldest son, I guess.
Frederick.
The
Frederick.
ponytail. He's got a little ponytail, right?
Yeah, he's got the ponytail.
Frederick's got a ponytail for some reason. Henry Thomas is the actor.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And the woman who I probably just still hate from Midnight Mass, who has the has the prostitute come over so she can like watch her life play out and touch herself or whatever, which is just like, what's going on here? It's all of the Natalie brought this up. I'll let her get on her high horse for this about the strong need for sexuality in this. I know that sexuality and horror are kind of, you know, they kind of go hand in hand with being a little more extreme than normal storytelling, but it is pretty funny.
It's ridiculous. This is like where you say like show don't tell. This is where they're not telling you, but you can see the things that they're not telling. Like you can see the decisions that they're making, and that's just bad. That's bad writing. Like you can tell, like, okay, what's the weird kink that these people are gonna have? Let's make. Oh, here's how can we make it a little bit weirder, but like sexy weird. You know, get people feeling away while they're watching. It's like we can see the formula. This is bad.
It is, when you say that, I can think of like everybody's little defining
kink
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sick, but like it's a zip around the room too. It's not even like you find out in the natural course of storytelling.
What's
It's like
what's
they're all wearing
Frederick's
their name
kink,
tag
though?
with their kink on it.
Frederick.
Which one is Frederick?
Oh, ponytail
the
guy. The
ponytail
oldest
guy.
son,
Kink is
yeah.
that he doesn't fuck. That's why his.
I was going to say, I think he's celibate.
Yeah, he's celibate. That's good.
His kink is being a good son.
Yes.
So says kink is disappointing his father.
And his wife at the same time.
Yeah.
He doesn't take elevators. That's his thing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's
He
afraid of them.
stinks because he runs upstairs all the time.
Does that mean he's going to die in an elevator?
Wow.
Almost certainly.
Yeah, seems. But how you get him in one, that's going to be the thing. I am definitely.
He flies right past Don Draper when Don looks in that empty elevator shaft. Right after that scene cuts, there goes old boy. You know how much a ponytail flies in the wind? Falling down a Manhattan elevator shaft.
Nicely, I'd imagine.
It doesn't look not cool.
You guys are bringing up the line I made last week, which is this family likes to fuck, except for Frederick apparently. But his wife, you know, she's going to the awards. She's having a good time.
And there is this kind of like I think it was Stephen King who said it, but like he's like, there is a part of horror that's like inherently conservative, right? Because it shows you like the deviation, the aberration, the abomination, quote unquote, obviously. And so I do kind of wonder, like, I think that's there because it was just like they are rich and they can do whatever they want and they're weird, but there is also like, are these kinks hurting anyone? I would say with the assistants, probably. With Bev, probably not. And it is kind of like, you know, like the horror is intertwined with like deviancy, if that makes sense.
It does.
But like, what does it do to the story? What's the point? Why do I need to know these things about these people? If there's a reason, like little kid that got burned and melted, sure, that's part of his track. It's part of his storyline. What? But I hate the show.
But it's to make them. I don't know that they. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, but I also see how they're kind of advancing the story.
It's just not subtle enough for Natalie.
You know, like with the two.
There's no subtlety.
Right, it's not subtle at all.
This movie, this show is not interested
like the two
in subtlety.
assistants, they exist so that she can like flex the might of their NDAs.
You know, I do find it interesting that Natalie says that I just laughed at the horror scenes, yet we can't get her to watch horror, like scary horror. Where's the nice middle?
Well, it's
I think
because
part
I
of it,
don't want to be startled.
And she's only
All
seen like
you know,
she's only seen good horror movies that are actually scary and not just dumb.
So next week we're covering The Exorcist.
Right.
Actually, I would watch.
God, I love that movie. I love it. The more I think about it, the more I love it. But that's a different episode. So Natalie and Adam are going to leave the room because Donovan and I are about to discuss episode 4 just a little bit as we wind down today's episode. So thanks, Adam and Natalie. But
Well, this one was cat heavy, so that's very important to
It kind
me.
of is important for us, both cat owners, both owning three cats.
Yes.
Yes, it's kind of true. This is the episode where I thought that Flanagan should have experimented with a cast he hasn't worked with, because this is where I thought Collie, who plays Leo,
That was
just
the
was
weakest.
miscast. He was just that
Okay.
didn't work.
That's funny. Yeah, I have nothing good backing this up. This is just 100% gut feeling. But I'm not. I didn't feel annoyed, or
Hmm.
I was just like, yeah, this is like, it's fine. He's doing. I just thought it was fine. Like, again, I don't think he's not like Jesse Plemons or something where it's like, man, he can do anything and I can't look away. But
I
yeah,
think I have trouble not thinking about his performance in Midnight Mass and really loving it and adoring it.
well, he was really good in Midnight
That could
Mass
be
too,
it.
but and just a completely different character too,
Very exactly.
and probably like the best person on that island
Yeah, he
too.
was one of the big protagonists characters.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think maybe the character of Leo, the way he was written, he was written a little whiny. It never suited that
I guess
actor.
so.
I don't take
I thought it was a little. Oh,
I don't
okay.
take Collie
That's
as a whiner.
interesting.
I take him as
That's
either
interesting.
stoic or a go getter or aggressive. Maybe, yeah.
He seemed like he was doing that, or at least supposed to be a parody of a tech bro who's like, I'm aggressive, I'm a disruptor, but also like, oh, like the very Elon Musk way where it's like, oh, the world's against me, like I'm fighting here, all out, which is very whiny and annoying, and that's kind of when like he's in video games and he's obviously. A personality, like a media personality, just all this different
Yeah, it goes
stuff.
back to our. It's not quite nuanced enough, probably, to warrant a plus.
No,
Right.
no. Right, like, dude, am I going to be thinking about this on my deathbed? Probably not. Am I enjoying it right before Halloween? Yes.
Yes,
Yes, I
scratching at
am.
it.
And I think there's actually some moments that are pretty. I think this is Flanagan's thing. It's like he's not Stanley Kubrick, right? Where it's like, okay, there is nothing wasted in The Shining. I mean, that movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and it is lean and mean. Nothing is wasted. Whereas with Flanagan, it is kind of like the series as a whole, but also I think the episodes themselves will have moments of creakiness where it's kind of like, you didn't, like, maybe if we had cut 15 minutes off of this, we'd have something solid. But the other thing I like about him is that interspersed with that is you have stuff that's really effective or affecting too.
Affecting. You look at the run times and kind of go, and it follows your assertion. When I click on the next episode, it's like an hour and 5 minutes, and I'm thinking, I bet this
Much.
could have been a 55-minute episode. I bet it could have been a 45-minute episode.
So far, so I want to see with the the Raven, the woman, the harbinger of death. I am interested in where she's coming from, but so far I don't necessarily really care about how the Ushers got to where they were. It's like I think if I had just seen them, like, I get it, they're a brother and sister who are I mean, obviously banging, but like they're unusually close. They're powerful. They can do whatever they want. They clearly do things without thinking through the consequences. And I
That
don't
part of
know
the
if I
mystery
need,
has been drawn out a little too
you know,
long.
I think maybe that's
That could
what it
have
is for
ended in
me.
episode 3. We could have put a bow on that one. You know what I'm sticking around
Yeah.
for? It's so yeah, a little bit of where's the Raven coming from? What has she got against them? Or is she just supposed to be a harbinger of death, or is she just supposed to be karma? Okay, maybe, but I hope they don't. That is a very big piece of the story that could make or break how I feel.
Definitely.
So I do want to see
Yeah.
what the finality of her role is. But you know what I really want to know? What the hell is Arthur Pym's story?
Oh yeah. I don't know if we're going
That would
to,
be great.
but like of course he took it from like it's the only novel he ever wrote, right? So it's got like a special place in that. I'm like, please give Mark Hamill an episode.
What is going on with him? Why is he wearing gloves? Why is he shady? How does he get so much done?
Yeah, why is he like their bulldog fixer? How did he get involved with them, and what has he done? And like, he's like clearly the only man that Roderick trusts.
Wouldn't it be great if they had all young actors for everyone except for Mark Hamill, and they de-age him again? He just looks like Luke Skywalker, and he's
just do like in the man or whatever.
And he's like, "Hey, I'm a lawyer. How are you?" He doesn't even have the voice. Wouldn't it be great? I don't have a lot to say about episode 4. It was my least favorite of the 5 I've seen. The Black Cat kind of that's a super short Poe story, if I'm not mistaken. And
pretty short, yeah, because that's the one where he kills his wife, puts her in the wall. Cat's in there with the wall too, and and he comes, they're looking like that. It's like the police or whatever. Like, oh, did you? And he's like, oh, nothing here. And like knocks on the wall, and the cat screams because the cat's been in there eating the corpse the whole time, and it's just gruesome. So I kind of liked that, although it was like I did in the middle of it also like, oh, it's also an episode of It's Always Sunny. Where you just, there's a cat in the wall. God. And how do you get the cat? You put another cat in, right? And then, oh no, that's 2 cats stuck in. What did they do? They put like 3 cats in Charlie's wall.
I don't know if I realized that episode of It's Always Sunny was an homage to Poe.
I just love that episode. They just keep putting cats in the wall.
Such a great episode. That's a really good show.
But yeah, that's all I did I like it. I think this is more me liking it on the campy side just because I like the Black Cat story. I like that, oh yeah, we got it. She's named Pluto and all that kind of good. But there was a bit where he's torn up the walls and I'm like, oh no, this is Sunny. It's always
That's
Sunny
a funny reference that you made that I didn't catch when I watched. This episode, what ran through my mind toward the end was, okay, Flanagan is trying to take on a bit too much by using a bunch of Poe's work. But when I got back into episode 5, I thought, no, he's actually synthesizing this stuff quite well. I was thinking in episode 4, okay, he should have picked 1 or 2 things Poe has written and developed those, modernize them. But then in episode 5, I came back around and I thought, no, this is synthesized okay enough for me.
I think for me, now only having seen 4, the first episode, there was a lot of moments where it's like, we get it, Mike. We get it. You read Poe. But then once I saw that the series was going to be like each episode is like a different thing, a different Poe story, a different Poe thing, but like and I'm like, you know what? That's actually kind of fun. Like it can be fun to play spot the reference if it's not too cute. And so far for me, like sometimes it's a little too cute.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like, I don't believe that Roderick Usher came up with Annabelle Lee. I'm sorry. I just don't think he.
You know what? When I saw that episode, I thought he was just quoting Poe and that Poe existed in their universe in the 1800s.
I thought he was. I thought they would say like he'd read.
No,
it
your
or
interpretation
something.
is right. No, yeah, and they may have said it too because I've seen it elsewhere that was the case.
And which was, so sometimes it's a little too cute, but honestly, I like spot the reference can be a really fun game to play.
It gives you a roller coaster of thoughts. You're like, okay, I'm over this now, but then the next episode you start looking, and then you get a little over it. It also does nothing for the predictability if you like being completely surprised. These episodes, you look at the title, you know where it's going, but how does he get there? That's not always a bust.
This is me being a pretentious ass. And I'm not saying these two things are equal level of quality, but it does make me think of like Greek tragedy, where like the audience always knew what was going to happen. Because it's a story, right? Like you always know you always know what's going to happen to.
That's funny. I was going to reference Shakespearean tragedies. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to die.
You know what's going to happen, but it's how you get there.
It is.
Yeah, like the story is known, and then it's how you interpret it. It's
me being, playing Monday morning quarterback, so to speak, and me playing Monday morning quarterback with Flanagan's writing and choices. He should have done that, synthesized these things, kind of done a Greek tragedy, a Shakespearean tragedy kind of thing, it would have been perfect. Oh, it would have been chef's kiss if he would have said, I'm going 100% camp or I'm going 100% scary AF. So,
yeah. There is some, I don't know, tonal differences. Because it is the mix of like, oh no, I want this to be an actual scary scene, but it's also like, and the monkey did it in the Rue Morgue if you were paying attention.
one of Poe's weakest decisions as a writer is having the monkey do it at Rue Morgue.
The orangutan.
Yeah, that's a little. Even Poe's original there was a little silly. It's a lot to take on for anyone. So kudos to him that he's doing it and able to produce something modern with this.
So I will also say, and this is something you can't know, you just kind of have to guess. But honestly, it kind of seems like everyone's having fun here.
Yeah, and I get the impression
like they don't. They seem to, it doesn't. It's not overly serious. That no one seems miserable. I
get the impression from the few people I've talked to who've been watching it, they're kind of enjoying it just for the fun. Yeah. So I think that's where you and I are. Maybe even Adam is a little to a degree, but I think Natalie was like,
I can't believe Natalie watched.
Yeah, it's just not
3 episodes.
It's not for her. Poor Natalie. We put her through the ringer on some of these choices we decided.
We surely have.
But Flanagan's a staple. Next year, is he going to be on Amazon Prime with something similar around this time? I don't know.
We'll see. He is kind of perfect for. Just to kind of get you in the Halloween mood, though, because it's like Halloween, right? It's a little scary. It's a little campy. It's a little. It's it's weird, and it's kind of like I have part of the fun is the thrill of the familiar, and then part of the fun is I don't actually know what is going to happen necessarily within the confines of the familiar. So I don't know how many trick or treaters are going to show up at my house, for instance.
It's easy for us to say do this, do that, but if you think about it, like. I'm going to take on almost all of Poe's work. I'm going to turn them into modern story, not even horror, just here's a modern story. That's tough.
Yeah, I couldn't sit down and do that.
So, there you go. Let's wrap our episode. This has been fun. We will... Hey, heads up, listeners, if you do make it this far, we may or may not be back next week. Probably will give our best effort to do so, but I'm going to go see the Dexatines on Saturday night in Tuscaloosa.
They're still playing?
Buddy, let me tell you this. Not only are they still playing, they're playing with the original lineup, Sweet Doggone Drums. So,
that's going to be a damn good show.
I've always said, if they ever do the original lineup, I'll just go wherever. I always said that.
Where are they playing?
Druid City. It's a Chucker Halloween reunion.
That's awesome. My understanding about Tuscaloosa is like Druid City at this point is basically the only reason to go there. They just always seem to have something good cooking.
Kudos to Bo Hicks again. It'll be his birthday weekend. Yeah. They're doing Chucker Halloween 30-year reunion or 25. I can't remember. They've even reunited some old bands, not even just the Dexatines, but like bands who haven't played in 15 years or 20 years.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Truly going to be.
Because the Tuscaloosa music scene has there's been some good stuff through there,
Yeah.
There's been some good stuff.
Quality and original and unique.
Yeah.
Adam, of course, a birth from that scene.
Yes. Hell, he's practically a staple there in some weeks.
He used to be. That was for sure. So that's so we're going to try to get an episode to you next week. If not, if we make the announcement that there won't be, it might be because I couldn't get back in time on Sunday. We'll see.
I think that's a pretty damn good reason to
I think
possibly skip an episode. That's going to be awesome.
Still feasible. I'll be here. So probably going to talk the fall of the House of Usher. We may even put a bow on that one, it being a Halloween episode for us. And that's pretty much it. Find Taking It Down Pod on. I'm starting to use Blue Sky a ton, but you can find me on Threads, Instagram. You can always comment on the YouTube video and let us know if you've watched it. And for Donovan, Adam, and Natalie, we'll say goodbye. Follow the Alabama Take. Plenty there too. Thanks, everyone.